And welcome one and all to the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. First race of the series at Daytona Road. We have a 90-minute race for you lined up with two classes today, the MX-5s, which are the street touring class, and the slightly faster Mustangs, which are the Grand Sport class. My name is Rob Sutherland. The lead commentator is a gentleman called Will Vincent. Hello, Will.
Tally-ho. Hey, how you doing?
Yes, fantastically well. This is looks to be a cracking race today.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've only just literally 2 hours ago got the call to help out on the broadcast of this, but having a look through the field, some very competitive times in both the street touring division and in the Grand Sport class. Fields look to be pretty spread out in places, but pretty even in others. So you're going to have quite a lot of packs forming, it seems to be. And some interesting rules for this series as well, which will make the racing very interesting.
And excellent. I'm just looking through the times now, and there are some massive speed differentials we're going to be encountering today, especially when we're going to come up to lap people. We're looking at about a 2:03 lap at the moment. So and the second guys in the MX-5s are doing 2:14s. That's James Stevenson, one of our Aussie chaps. So it's going to be some very, very good overtaking through the pack once the Mustangs catch up.
Oh yeah, and so we're just completing qualifying now, and it's going to be interesting making passes here. The infield at Daytona is very, very narrow, especially, I'm trying to do the corners in my head right now, especially turn 4 and 5, very, very tight corners, you know, and going single file through turn 5, going two-way through turn 5 is always risky if you're lapping cars. But once you get onto the banking, you're going to see some huge closing speeds, especially down into the bus stop and as you come back onto the banking towards turn 1. So it's going to be very interesting, like in many forms of endurance racing, where you catch the cars to lap them is really going to dictate whether or not you're going to be able to pull away or be held up.
That's certainly some very, very good points. I will say as well, on the infield of Daytona Road, it's going to be very, very interesting because these cars don't handle as nicely as you would like them to handle. They are very hard to actually get in the corner. There's certainly a lot of getting it in early, drift it out to try and keep the speed up. So there's some proper corners. You've got to really stamp on the brakes. It's going to be some good racing.
Oh yeah, and if you especially turn 1 from the key corners of the track, you might see a couple of drivers overshoot a little bit, and if they manage to get it under control, they shouldn't lose too much of a time advantage. But the way the banking falls off, the way you go into turn 1, it's very easy for the back end of the car to step out and put you into a world of trouble entering turn 2.
That's excellent. Right, okay, we are going to be going to the grid in a minute. Will's going to take everyone through the grid order.
I am indeed, and starting from pole position in the Grand Sport division, you have Brian Stodbeck with a time of 2 minutes 3.910, the only guy to get into the 203s. Trace McRae in second in the number 69 machine, lining up alongside him in row number 1 with a 2 minute 4.738. And then you got a bit more of a gap back to third. Steve Brown in the number 82 machine and Kevin Brown in the 14 will make up row number 2. Row number 3 you'll have Cody Buckman-Gar in the inside and Russell Clayson on the outside. Row number 4 David Waters and Edwin Harshberger in 8th. Row number 5 Ayrton Ellis and Alexis Malona. Row 6, Anthony Castro and Bill Daly. Row 7, Ricky Dalton and Stephen McPherson. Row 8, Jasper Greining and Joseph Otto Faro. Sorry about my pronunciation there. Row number... I forgot who I am. Row number 9 even is Brian Taylor and Bruce Lawson. Row number 10, the last of the Mustangs with James Wood, and alongside him the first of the MX-5s, James Stevenson, will be lining up in the number 11 machine. And you can see the differential there. 4 seconds between the last of the Mustangs and the first of the MX-5s. And in row number 11 you will have Kevin Butchholz and Eric Biggs. Row number 12 is Stain Johnson and Matthew Reinhold. Hang Ho Tao and Michael C. West makes up row 13. Fernando Ferreira and Antti Tuinminen makes up row 14. Joseph Peak and Jason Breifogel, row 15. Ryan Worley and Jarrett Lawson, row 16. Giancarlo Lenzi and Michael Morrison, row 17. Chris Moran and John Richard, row 18. Jason Garrett and John Montoya, row 19. Don't know if there's any relation between him and John Pablo. Peter and Eric make up row 20. And Stephanie Morian lines up last in 41st.
Well, okay, so cars are starting to pull away now. Well done, Will. That was very... that's a big grid, isn't it? I think you can just sort of put your teeth back in the water, let them cool down a little bit now while we're doing the lap. They're going into the first corner now. They're coming into the infield. Now, this is a really, really difficult corner to make successfully, because if you mess it up, you've got that big wall of tyres in front of you to welcome you back to the pit lane. So very hard as they come back into this corner now. It's quite actually difficult through... There's a little bit of an S complex as well, so you're swinging through there and you're going to come up to quite a right tight-hander for what they call one of the ending corners that are named here, I believe, the International Horseshoe. You're going to come out round the backfield now. It's quite undulating. It's I don't recall it being that flat, this circuit, so you're going to come around the back here and kink to the left, and when you do get it wrong, there's a lot of grass to sort of skid off onto this bit, and you've got to make sure you get back in more or less the same place you went off. You don't want to cut corners. That's a bad thing. The stewards and marshals, they don't like you for that. Okay, so I believe there's been a bit of contact already on the pace lap, so let's hope that hasn't dampened anyone's race at the minute. We're going through the second hairpin now, where we come on to the left hand that joins the oval banking. And Will, how much drafting do you reckon we're going to see here?
Lots, simply put. You'll see the Mustangs trying to draft with the MX-5s right until the last second when they get onto this banking before they pull off. You'll probably see the Mustangs trying to go high or low around, whichever will be quickest. I mean, you've got 30 degrees of banking on this part of the oval, so, you know, you've got a lot of banking to play with, so you can go high or low. And they'll be drafting people all the way up until that big braking point to get into the bus stop chicane, which is probably one of the most difficult stopping points of the track. You know, as you said,
sorry to interrupt. Certainly, it's a very hard corner to see the countdown timers on the wall. You know.
Oh yeah, and as we've said already, these cars are very difficult to handle, and they've got to go left, right, and then right, left again, back onto the banking. And the second part of this bus stop is critical. You want to get good drive in the second half of the bus stop, so that once you get back onto the banking, you can keep that momentum all the way down past start-finish line and into turn one.
Right, okay, so we've not got a lot of time now till the pace car decides to come in. We're just going to go into the bus stop now. It's quite an easy corner to cut, actually, and if we see a lot of drivers slowing down, that will be because of what's happened. They've cut the corner. I've had to slow down to satisfy the stewards. So we're going to come back onto the back of the oval now. Everyone's going to sort of start to form up, bunch around. How many people will, in the race, do you think are going to shoot past the first corner?
I'll take 5.
5? I'll take 50. Okay, so I'll let you talk us through the start of the race, Will. They're trying to catch up a little bit of speed now.
Yeah, very quickly. The timer that you see on your screen, it says it's already counting down. It is slightly incorrect. We apologise about that, but we are keeping a close eye on the time on us using modern technology. So we'll be keeping an eye out, letting you know how long this race has left to its conclusion. So it's a 90-minute race. The pace car is about to pull off any minute now. See the cars lined up nicely, 2 by 2 all the way back.
Like Noah's Ark, isn't it?
Yeah. Pace car off, and immediately the 4 GTs begin to build up speed, and we've got the green flag here at Daytona, and Brian Stodbeck brings the field to the green flag.
Okay, so let's see if they all manage to get in to this first corner. You don't want to go next to someone. There's difficult questions that needs to be answered if you go side by side through these first few corners.
Seems as though, so far, everyone's managed to get through reasonably okay. Having a look back through the field, and to my knowledge, everyone's fine. Coming into the hairpin now, this is where it really does start to get difficult. And you see cars cutting a little bit on the inside there.
hopefully we'll see some decent race craft. Everyone does cut the lines. You know, you don't want to stay on racing line and slow down because that's a bit rude to the people behind you.
We've got two cars on grass. We believe that is the number 87 and the number 4 machine. We made contact with each other there. And you just see the Mustangs there on your screen, just sliding through that second hairpin. Very, very difficult corner to get through as you get onto the banking, because as you exit the corner, the car just wants to turn left, but you want to keep it going straight a little bit and then let the banking turn the car a bit further.
I'm just trying to keep your eye on some of the MX-5s, because you've got a lot of the quicker MX-5 drivers where we're all bunched up in traffic like this. They're trying to take on the Mustangs, and of course this is multi-class racing. They're not racing each other. They're racing their own grid, really.
And this is where you might see some form of an incident as we come into the bus stop for the first time in this race. And you can see the Mazdas going 3 wide into the braking zone. This is not what you want to see. I mean, I've driven the Mazdas before here at Daytona, and once they get onto that banking, the amount of downforce they have, if you're in the middle, you've got to hold that steering wheel perfectly dead centre, with the amount of air you have flowing over yourself and the other cars in order to make it work.
There's some great different lines. You can see some of the Mustangs holding that higher just as they sort of come back through the field for past James Stevenson and the leading MX-5s.
And you see there, you have David Waters in the number 76 machine. He, I believe, had a bit of an off-track incident earlier on, and he's managed to just drive around the outside of these Mazdas. You have a couple of cars coming down pit lane already. There's Jason Breifogel, I believe, who's in pit lane.
Well, interesting as well, I can see the leader, or the was leader of the MX-5s, James Stevenson. He's just coming to the pit lane. Is this some kind of ruling they've got? They need to come in the first third.
That's correct. They have to come in the first third of the race. So these drivers are probably thinking, well, if they come in now and you get a full course caution in the next couple of laps, they pretty much made a free pit stop. So strategy going on here.
But then saying that, they can also, and the exit of this pit lane is quite difficult, I must say. Also, when you, if he, for example, James now, we use James's strategy. He's just done the quick mandatory pit stop. He's now going to come out in a load of traffic now. Sorry, not in a load of traffic, in a load of space. So this guy's got a whole track to do like a reverse undercut, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. And you see, not only that, is on the positive, you could be keeping out of mess around you, but if you get too close and you've got a huge pack ahead of you and one of those crashes, then you've got to be very careful when you use that famous Daytona dodging skills.
We're just going to see a replay of car number 19 now. You had a bit of an incident earlier. Try and work out what's going on. So we can see that he's on the banking. He's close to the car in front. It's a nice grey number. Okay, so we've can't really see the replay feed, so we don't really know what's going on. But we can see now that car number 19 is it's down in 35 ace Chris Moran.
And again, you see Mustang is charging around these these MX-5s. David Waters is just trying to build up gaps all over the place. He's up to 25th overall at the moment. Still the lowest placed car of all of the Mustangs, but maybe he's just trying to keep a clean head at this early stage of the race.
Indeed, whilst others, dare I say, lose theirs. We saw what happened to Chris Moran in the MX-5. He was the first casualty of the first corner jinx.
Oh yeah, and this is the thing, you have so many different drivers taking so many different lines, and you just see Michael C. West almost lose it there, and the number 45 machine, the GoPro Intel car, just losing it there. He's currently in 26th position overall. That makes him 7th in class. However, so many different lines, so many different braking points into turn 1, and if you are trying to adjust your line mid-corner to avoid ramming into the back of someone, it's very easy to spin one of these cars, especially with the turning angles they have, and the fact that, you know, these cars don't have that much grip.
Certainly the case. They are quite a handful. I'm just looking at a battle now between Anne Castro and Rick Dalton, and JD was quite close as well. This is about for 8th position. They are right up each other's places. Just going to the bus stop now. Anthony takes it quite wide, allows Ricky to get a lot closer now, which is going to be interesting because he's definitely in the tow now, coming from the last bend in Daytona.
And we're currently looking at. I'm currently looking at the battle between the two MX-5s battling for first position in class. And you just see how close they are together as they come into the banking, but then Eric slows himself down. We're going back up the field to Anthony. These two, side by side, as they come past the start-finish line. It's going to be a case of the last of the late breakers.
I saw a bit of a cut there earlier as well. That's a bit implied, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone wide, he's gone late.
He's gone late, and he has to turn the car around, manages to save it. Thankfully, that asphalt on the outside of one does have quite a lot of grip, so if you can keep the car straight and take the corner normally, you don't lose too much time. But Castro really fighting hard for position there in the number 13 machine.
And is it me, or is Trace and Brian first and second place? Brian Stodderbeck and Trace McKay, are they quite close?
They are.
So. Yeah, it'll be a good one to focus on for the next few minutes, I think.
Yeah, they are mightily close. And this is where you'll see exactly how the banking works at Daytona. I mean, Trace is a little bit too far back to be able to make the move into the bus stop, but you see him now coming down to the inside, getting the draft of Brian, and he'll build that all the way up to the bus stop. Hopefully he'll get a good line through the bus stop into the second part of the banking, and then use that momentum all the way up towards the start finish line. You see him starting to close now. The gap's closed from about 6 to 4 car lengths, and he's going to try and brake a bit later, get a nice line into the bus stop.
I'll tell you what, he's mastered this, because he threw that in and just drifted. It was lovely to watch.
Yeah, gap's down to 3 car lengths now as they come back onto the banking. You're going to see him now stay right on that lower lane, moving up just a little bit. And the gap's definitely closing. It's down to 2.5.
You reckon these guys go side by side in the first corner? I mean, I said that Brian looked good going into the bus stop, but he didn't have to lose a lot of time.
Oh yeah. Trace is closing. It's down to half a car length. Is he going to try and go to the outside as they come into one? It looks as though Trace just broke a little bit early there, so he didn't end up causing an incident. But he's mightily close.
A pretty conservative turn in from Brian as well. I think he was certainly looking in the rearview mirror for that one.
And I have to say, there's so much action on here between the Mustangs and the MX-5s. It's hard to keep track of exactly what's happening. So if we do get anything, we've got spotters in the background letting us know what's going on. We'll try and get to it as quickly as we can. Yeah,
and they are very, very busy. And if you see us go quiet, it's normally because we can see that there's an awful lot going on, and we're just saying, whoa, what next? What's happening? You know, it's really, we've got 41 cars taking part in this Continental Endurance Sports Car Series at Daytona Road, and there's some fantastic action through the field.
And what the so-called cautions that are enforced at this in this league might do is save a couple of cars from getting lapped. I mean, the slowest MX-5 is about a minute 20 behind the overall leader at the moment. But, I mean, we're only 5 laps in. If we get a caution in the next 7-8 laps, you know, that could reverse itself. So they can keep their lap, get their fuel stop, and be right back on the tail, which saves them a lot of hassle, especially at a track which is so twisty on the infield.
It almost sounds like you're. It almost sounds like you want a full course caution. A bit of drama. There's enough drama going on. Yeah, let's keep my heart in one piece.
Trace a lot further back this time as they go back onto the banking. It looks as though he decided to stay a little bit further for now.
We've got a bit of action with Ricky.
Oh, and he loses it. Oh, Ricky hits 2 cars there. Anthony Castro, who we talked about earlier, into the wall there in the first part of the bus stop.
Okay, I think we're going to see a replay of this as well.
Yep. Anthony just tries to dive down the inside of the bus stop, realises that the car ahead of him is slightly loose, and didn't realise the car is just going to turn back into him.
Well, this is proper edge on seat racing. I mean, they're still quite close now, driving through the start-finish. Only now they've been caught, and there is passing going on as well.
For Anthony now, he's trying to get that car back down to pit lane as quickly as possible, having to take the grass to do so. Bit of an unconventional route to go down, but he's onto the braking zone they're using NASCAR now. The car's turning all different directions, trying to get it down into pit lane. Hopefully he won't steer it back onto the track.
Yeah, we always want to see maximum amount of cars finish. Just makes for an interesting spectacle. Just looking at Jasper Groneman now, who I swear has just been jet setting around somewhere else, because I swear he was racing a few hours ago in another race. That's excellent stamina from Jasper. Ricky's up there now. It'd be interesting to see how much damage is done to his car as well.
So about 15 minutes-ish, well, 13 minutes into the race so far. So to run through the order as we speak, in the Mustangs you have Brian Stodbeck still leading by 0.6 of a second over Trace McRae. I'm guessing there's probably no relation to Colin either. Kevin Brown is... Sorry, that's completely confused on my screen. Yeah, it's all completely gone wrong. Sorry about that. I'll take it from another screen. So, yeah, Brian Stodbeck from Trace McRae, from Kevin Brown, from Steve Brown. Kevin has an E on the end of his name, Steve has no E. And then Russell Clayson is in 5th. And in the Mazdas, Eric Briggs is leading from Kevin Buckholes, from Stain Johnson, from Giancarlo Lenzi, from Michael C. West.
I tell you what, that Eric and Kevin battle is quite close. They are they're a draft. They just have a little bit of a draft to go through on the oval, and I think they might be side by side pretty soon.
Oh yeah, and Brian Stodbeck in the number 7 Mustang has set the fastest lap of the race, so he's really trying to put the hammer down to break that draft from Trace McRae, knowing that as soon as he manages to do that, Trace is going to have a lot slower lap times, not being able to use that draft to his advantage on the banking.
And they are side by side now, and the professional move is to force the passer to the outside as well, to make it a little bit more difficult for them to try and get past. Oh, the spinner! Oh, that was squeaky bum time.
Oh yeah, definitely. The apex of the second part of the bus stop, and it looks like he's just sat there. He looks like he was waiting for the cars to go past, bringing it back on track, and it was Jason Garrett in the number 81. Is that the Mustang there, I believe?
I think I'm pretty sure it's that. I think it was an MX-5.
No, it is the MX-5. I was just looking at it from a very bad camera angle.
Chris Moran, kind of a 19, did have a bit of a spin. I don't know if he's still running round or not. I'll try and find him. He's all the way down in 38th now.
A couple of cars have damage. The number 94, just looking at, has a bit of rear end damage. Currently sat in 27th place. Jarrett Lawson in 28th, just coming down pit lane. Almost overshot the entry there. As we said, these cars have to make a pit stop in the first third of the race. So they're all going to be coming in shortly. For these drivers that have got damage, the one thing they have is knowing that all other cars are going to have to come back down pit lane very soon.
Cool, James Wood spun just before the International Horseshoe. He's having a bit of trouble back on circuit. Doesn't look like he's damaged, but hopefully no other cars catch him up. Actually, I don't think it was International Horseshoe. I think he was a lot further on the infield.
Ricky Dalton making a pass there on Joseph Ottofaro for what I believe is 8th position. So it's 9th, I'll take that back.
A decent barometer for sort of time and paces. We're looking at the MX-5 positions now, and James Stevenson, who took that very, very early pit stop, is now back up in the 10th, 1 minute 43 behind the leader of the actual race. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when everyone else starts taking their pit stops. How far they drop down? Will they drop down before or after Mr. Stevenson?
Oh yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the rules are for this series in regards to what you actually have to do under a pit stop, but I know the MX-5 does take a very long time to fill that tank up. I believe the GT's a little bit quicker in pit lane. Obviously they're a little bit quicker on track as well, but A number of the MX-5s, I believe 4 MX-5s so far, have been lapped. Hong El Tao is the car, the first car a lap down, and the next victim, so to say, for the leader of the Mustang class will be Joseph Peak in the number 8 machine.
Just trying to look through the field for some more fights now. We've got a chap 12 positions, Tim McPherson at the moment. Seems to be, according to the timing screen, neck and neck with Edmund Hirschberger and Bruce Lawson. But I've just had a little look and I can't see the other driver. However, I can see is Steve McPherson doing this phenomenon that happens in online racing of blinking due to a bit of latency. It's never nice to follow a car that you're quite close to that does that. Just disappears 1 minute and then comes back.
Oh no, I mean it doesn't. It's so many different things. Latency lagging. Obviously, it is a feature in anything of long line racing until the world gets 2,000 megabyte internet connections that never break down and never lag at all. But until that point, you know, with races from all over the world on a central server, then it's always going to be a slight issue. As we're looking at the number 42 machine, Ricky Dalton at the moment, who's been on the charge for so long. And you've got Trace McRae, sorry, the number 69, right back up on your screen now with Brian Strodbeck right back up there as Strodbeck starting to lap the MX-5s. And this is what I've been saying, if you're going to try and make a pass, under traffic's always a good point to try and do so, where you might have to go offline.
This is where we see how good the racecraft is from the slower MX-5 drivers, how much their situational awareness comes forward as well, because these cars are catching pretty quick, and you've got to think about trying not to interrupt their race in any way.
Trace was very lucky there.
Do your own race as well, you know, and just make sure these Mustangs can get past you safely.
Oh yeah, Trace McRae was very lucky there, you know. If he was even 4 tenths of a second further back, he would have had to have gone too wide into that left-hand sweep, and that's not a position you want to be in.
I tell you what, Will, sorry to interrupt. I think our finished producers need to be on the caffeine field today, because there's an awful lot going around the circuit. Sometimes I just wish that we can do, like, you know, in race sort of vision. You can have like 2 screens at once so we can see all the fights that are going on.
Oh yeah, big kudos to both Yoni and Yano, who's been working hard all day long, not only in this but a number of other series today, trying to tweak things, make things work perfectly. I just need to know what form of caffeine brand they're on, because I could do with it sometimes. But going back to the issue of latency, as I said, we have drivers from all over the world racing on a central server, so some people have really good connections because they're very close to the server, others have a lot higher. And it's not normally an issue until drivers' internet connections slightly come into issue. You do hear occasionally, as in all form of racing, you know, some people using that to their advantage. But, you know, it's obviously against sport and code of iRacing, it's against fair play. But lagging here at a track like Daytona, it does have a dramatic effect on the way the car handles, especially through the banking, where you have... Oh, as you see there, sorry, Brian Strodbeck almost got a bit wide and won, and the Mazda he was lapping almost came back at him there. But you do see, if you were to be lagged, someone ahead of you is lagging, and you're on the banking, you lose the draft, and you also lose a little bit of handling as well. And when it comes back, it can sometimes create a sensation of all of a sudden the car feels weightlessness. So it's something always to bear in mind. And obviously the phenomenon of someone blinking ahead of you is not a good thing. Shall we say?
I see a lot of drivers, I mean, these are quite heavy rear-wheel drive front engine cars. They are taking it very, very wide exit into the horseshoe, and that's going to be affecting their time on one of the really long straights of this circuit.
Oh yeah, and we're currently looking at the leader of the MX-5 division, Eric Briggs in the number 16 machine. He's got Giancarlo Lenzi. He's moved his way up into second in class, right behind him, and it's not quite managed to break the draft. He's trying to do so, Eric. If he can really nail the bus stop, he has a really good chance of ensuring that he doesn't get closed down too much coming past the start-finish line. We'll just have a look and see... Oh, sorry. Giancarlo right to the outside there for the lead, and the number 02 machine drives right around the outside, gets a perfect exit from the bus stop. And they're going to be drag racing it now down past the start-finish line. And unlike in these NASCARs, you can't really pinch the driver down too much, because as you turn across the banking and you get too close, the air just wants to suck you down into the car on the low side.
I tell you what, he's my favourite. That's a really great name, Giancarlo Lenzi. He's got a bit of black in his car as well, that makes it nice. We've just lost a chap, Michael C. West. Unfortunately, he's had a bit of quality issue on his line. He's connected, and maybe we'll see him back if he gets his connection sorted out.
And again, they're going to be too wide as they come through the S's down into the horseshoe, and you've got a car coming out of pit lane as well. Giancarlo decides not possibly the right time to make the move just yet. That Mustang should pull away pretty quickly, so it shouldn't affect this battle too much. However, Giancarlo's all over the back of Eric, and if he can get a good run through the bus stop this time, he could just drive right around the outside and tuck back in front.
Well, I for one, I hope this battle just goes and goes and goes. It looks like Michael C. West is back. Hopefully his car will be in the pit lane, nice, shiny, ready for him. Maybe they put a new coat of wax on.
Yeah, pit guys probably have just come back off their breakers like, oh, come service the car. And you can see,
you in turning.
yeah, you see Eric getting a little bit wide out of that corner, and possibly trying to break the draft a little bit now. It's about 3/10 of a gap. So 3 car lengths gap between Giancarlo and Eric. And the number 11 car had a little bit of a moment just now. That's James Stevenson, currently riding 5th in class in the MX-5. Just a little bit loose. He managed to keep it going shiny side up still, didn't lose much time, but at the same time he wants to be careful, you know. Too many of that and your luck's going to run out eventually.
Well, James did qualify first in the MX-5s with a 2-minute 14.491. Followed by Kevin in 2-minute 14.560. So they were the only guys to break under 2-minute 15 really, or under 2-minute 15.2. So it's got a bit of pace about him. Let's just hope he's got consistency. He's my barometer. Pitted very, very early.
I tell you what, I think Giancarlo just missed an opportunity there. He let the first driver go past him, and it looks like both MX-5s are coming down pit lane, sorry. He let the 2 Mustangs go past him, but he could have just drifted to the outside and used that additional toe to try and suck around Eric Briggs. I mean, the toe's not going to be as much, but it would still be impossible. So both MX-5s, 1 and 2, into pit lane. Eric Briggs, Giancarlo Lenzi. Looks like both of them are taking tyres. It always looks as though they're dog cocking their leg when they go to the toilet in these cars for some strange reason.
Fantastic. Fantastic analogy. I'm just chasing David Waters at the moment. He's in 9th place with Jasper Gromick behind him. They are lapping. They literally followed about 5 or 6 MX-5s into the bus stop, and it was proper yikes moment.
I'd say though, the racing's been very, very clean up to date.
Yeah, no, I was expecting them. And I don't really know a lot about Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, but when I see GT, so I see Mustangs and MX-5s on the circuit. Whoa, as we see another person shoot past the first corner. That's who for tonight. Nice little blue MX-5, you know. I'm being quite impressed, because they are quite difficult beasties to handle around this circuit.
And unless I'm very much mistaken, I believe that Eric Briggs managed to get ahead quite a little bit away from Giancarlo there by about 10 seconds almost.
I'm trying to find this guy that shot on past 1. And it was, I think it was Jarrett Lawson. I think that's the chap. He's certainly charging hard back through the MX-5 field again. 27th at car number 25. That was a proper little moment. We completely missed that first corner. Oh,
and these,
no, I think I've got it wrong. I think it was car number 25.
And these MX-5s and the Mustangs, they can, if they have teammates on track, work together on this banking section. They both pull to the high side. They can draft themselves ahead of the cars on the inside, but it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of teamwork to do that. And as I've said previously, once you get to that high side, the car does get very, very wiggly when you're right behind someone, so you've got to keep that wheel perfectly steady and fight it when it tries to start slapping to the left, to the right. And just make sure you keep it nice and straight and keep your braking points into these big stops if you're going to make it work.
You see, I don't understand all this teamwork stuff on the racetrack. We aren't flying aircrafts here. You know, this isn't a pilot and a co-pilot situation. I want a proper Senna versus Prost. You know what I mean? Man for man.
And we have reached almost the halfway point of the race, so anyone who hasn't pitted yet is required to do so. In the next couple of minutes, we have about 3 minutes left, so probably one more lap for drivers to do this, otherwise they will lose 10 championship points in this series because of the rule structure.
Oh, blimey. I think we're a third of the way through as well, I think, actually.
Yeah, sorry, a third, not halfway.
So for a layman like me, for example, who can't really understand simple instructions, they need to pit in the first third of the race.
Correct, so in the first 30 minutes of racing, or the lap which would make that into the third. And we're riding on board. Oh, Brian Strodbeck getting very, very skiddy through the bus stop. Almost Japanese drift style racing there.
He's just showing off, like in those old cop programs you used to see as a kid.
Yeah. Where you'd almost think that cops would probably actually catch the criminal a little bit quicker if they just drove the car rather than chucking it around the corners.
We're on board with Tracy McRae now, who is catching the leader again. He drops off for a bit, but he's back.
7 cars into pit lane. 7 cars into pit lane.
That'll be why he's back.
And so is Trey. So these two are going to pit together.
Well, this should be a good watch.
I believe both of them managed to hit the speed limit perfectly fine. Yep, no issues from Trace.
Give you a bit of a goss as well. Steve Brown collected an MX-5 into turn number 6 or 7. We don't know if there's any damage yet. We'll keep an eye on it for you.
And Trace will take the lead as they come out of pit lane. Trace manages to get ahead of Brian. Whether he's short field knowing that there could well be a full course caution at some point in this race, or whether he just hit his marks a little bit better. But Trace McRae manages to get ahead by about a second and a half over Brian Strodbeck as they rejoin the track into the International Horseshoe. And as you were saying earlier on, that is a very tricky corner right there when you come out of pit lane.
In that car. I mean, that was Trace owes his pit crew a beer for that, because that was fantastic.
Oh yes, definitely. And Kevin Brown's into pit lane, but he's having a very, very long pit stop. Finally off the jacks in that number 14 Monster Energy machine, but that was a long pit stop there. And you see another car, sorry, just at the top of my screen there, another MX-5. Fernando Ferreira, yeah.
No, I saw Jarrett Lawson go off again, but turn number 1. We'll be up to now 4, aren't we?
I think so, yeah.
I think my call for 15 is pretty good.
And now, all of these MX-5s that have been lapped, some of them are back on the lead lap, but they're being lapped again as the leader comes back out. If that makes any sense.
Let's have a replay of Lawson and see what happens. We can see he's on the outside. It's dead 2x2, a proper Arcanate style. He just misses a braking point. Oh, it's a bit of a contact actually, wasn't there? Bit of a wobble.
I tell you what though, there is 5 MX-5s running within about a second and a half of each other, and Mustang right in the mix, and Lawson comes down the inside trying to make a move on the AMF machine on the outside, the 64, manages to get to the inside coming onto the banking, but these MX-5s are scrapping for position tooth and nail. And there's another MX-5 trying to make it 3 wide, sorry, another 3 car, sorry, that's a 3, that is the, the Ford Mustang number 3 of Ayrton Ellis. Just splits through the middle of them. Complete commitment there.
I mean, Ayrton Ellis is running 4th at the minute, and he's not going to want to be there at the minute, isn't he? You know, he just must be like swatting flies. Just get out of the way, let me through. I understand everyone's in a race. Whoever you come up against, I mean, these guys are all fighting for position.
Oh yeah, and he's being very aggressively cautious, I think the word is.
Yeah. He wishes he had a horn.
Yeah, and he's going to get to the outside there. 3 wide on the outside goes Ayrton Ellis around the MX-5, and that does show the this complete speed differential between the Ford Mustangs and the Mazda MX-5s here But let's not forget, it doesn't matter. You're not going to gain necessarily an advantage by being a one, or because you're racing in your class position, not overall.
Yeah, what a great race! What a great combination this is. You know, there's a lot of passing. 41 cars, great field.
MX-5,
and,
25.
Jarrett late and again. Ooh, almost a bit of contact there, but Jarrett in very, very late again.
Using that run off a little bit on the exit 2 to his advantage there. Technically, he's not off track because he can't be gaining an advantage really by going on the outside, but at the same time, oh my god, he just spins on the inside there, right across the hairpin. Somehow they all manage to save themselves from connecting into each other, but two MX-5s bashing and banging as they go down. This is going to be interesting to see if this MX-5 manages to feed back in without causing an impact.
Oh, bit of touch there as well.
That is Dane Johnson in the number 64 machine, who just manages to keep it from a catastrophe there. He's now going to be trying to get back into the race, back to pit lane to get that damage repaired. And he's literally just staying off the track saying, let me go by. And the caution is out, full course caution here at the speedway.
Well, you've been waiting for this, that's fantastic. You're going to have to take us through this. I'm not really a, that's a bit wide from Jerry again, I'm not really a caution man.
Okay, so what will happen now is the leader, which is currently Trace McRae, will bring the field back to the pace car. Pace car will exit the pit and pick up the leader somewhere on the infield. No overtaking is allowed now, so any driver overtaking will have to make sure they get back in line. The field is frozen as soon as the caution flag flies. Once the pace car has caught the leader, the drivers will line up single file. Pits will open approximately a lap after the field has caught itself up. Pits will open, drivers can come in for service if they need to, and then it's single file restarts. The drivers will line up one by one by one by one by one, all the way back, and then once the pace car comes in, it'll just be like another restart.
Okay, well this is interesting because obviously Trace, the leader, Trace McRae, is currently behind Michael Morrison, who's one of the MX-5 races, and I wonder if Trace knows that it's a full course caution and doesn't really need to push this MX-5 driver to get past.
Well, yeah.
Everyone's going to be bunched up eventually.
I need to say at this point, any car who ends up in front of the leader when the pace car sorts the order out will be given the wave around. What this means is they'll be able to go all the way around the racetrack, so they can come all the way around the racetrack and line back up at the tail end of the field. As you see there, that MX-5 gets to go all the way around the racetrack now. If Trace decides to pit, and then those drivers are lapped down who end up ahead of him, they'll get the wave around, so you can get to go all the way back around the racetrack and essentially then make up an entire lap.
I love that phrase, the wave round. I'm going to get a t-shirt, I've had a wave round. It's pretty apt for me because normally when I race I am a back marker.
Okay, so we're just going to run through the order as we speak. Trace McRae is your overall leader, and obviously your leader in the Ford Mustangs. And the number 69, great green 69, Great Plains machine there. Second position is Brian Strodbeck in the CFO number 7 car. In third, you have Russell Clayson in the number 22 V Apex Racing machine. Fourth is Steve Brown in the number 82. And fifth is JD Buckgardner in the number 63. And onto the MX-5. In first, you have that Aussie James Stevenson in the number 11 in that lovely yellow and black car. Second, you have Eric Briggs in the number 16. That is a really nice paint scheme, by the way. The orange and black stripes, really, really well defined. Number 70, Kevin Buchholz is in third. Matthew Rainerhull is in fourth. And Jason Breifogel in fifth. Rounds up your top 5.
Well, that's a fantastic order. Which guy had the fantastic paint scheme?
Sorry, I'll go back. It's Eric Briggs. Talks about him a lot in that number 16.
I'm going to have a look. I like a good paint scheme. Let's have a look.
Number 16, Oakley sponsored car. Beautifully done. With some nice orange and black stripes. The Oakley logo going somehow managing to get around all the
Can we
sponsors.
just have a close up of this number 16? That's beautiful. What a beautiful car. It almost reminds me of Tony the Tiger, you know, the old Kellogg's Frosties car.
Oh yeah.
Right,
okay, it looks as though
now.
we're not getting the green flag this time by. It looks as though Race Control thinks that the field isn't bunched up enough. Number of drivers still coming around the racetrack to get back to the pack. So they're going to delay the flag until the cars are all lined up single file. I tell you what, the number 10 machine's got a very simple but also effective paint scheme. If you look at the side of it, nice pink and blue and green ribbon around that car.
That's nice. Eric Biggs, the chap we're looking at in the Tony Tiger car, has just been given a wave around as well, so he'll be told on his screen who he needs to be behind. His pit crew will be telling him. He'll now be screaming through the field, and all these Mustang drivers will be needs to go, oh my god, let's set him through.
Yeah.
And Matthew as well, Rainwell, he's been there, he's been going to wave through as well, wave around the pace cars, so let's get all this done nice and quickly so we can get back to racing.
And while I continue my look at cars, the number 8 has Plum on one side and Street on the other. Don't know what the significance of that is.
Yeah, he lives on Plum Street. Or maybe he's a street plum. He's a street style of plum. He's got a bit of a bad boy attitude around him. See the guy in front of him now just taking the pit as well.
So all the MX-5s are getting waved around the pace car. They'll go around the pace car all the way around the racetrack. Some of these drivers will use the opportunity to try and come down pit road to top off or change tyres if they want to. Slightly sneaky, but hey, if they can get around, they will do. And then they'll line up behind the 4 GTs, so that the 4 GTs will have a clear fight at the start and they won't be bogged down by any MX-5s.
I'll tell you what, you'd hate to crash after being given a wave around a pace car, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I've seen it before. I have seen drivers before get a wave around, and just as they're coming back to the end of the line, just make a little mistake and hit the wall. In fact, I've done it once myself in an IndyCar race. I took the wave around. This was under the old rule system. Took the wave around, came into pit road, took tyres, went back out, forgot to set my weight jacker as I was coming back, and spun and out the race.
Okay, so Hangyo Tao, James Wood, James Stevenson as well, our Aussie counterpart, has all been given a wave round, so hopefully they can catch up to the pace car pretty quick. And while a lot of endurance racing, a lot of sports car racing, especially around the bigger endurance races, normally run 2 pace cars. So one collects a slower field, one collects a faster field, or if they're halfway round, they do another way. But it's an interesting way of doing things.
Michael West has disappeared yet again, unfortunately, so his internet problems continue to plague him. But while we are under caution, perhaps it will be an interesting time to take a very slow lap around this track. We'll see if we can get in the eyes of Trace McRae. And you see, this is the first corner as we're riding along with Trace right now. You see the cones on the outside as he's just getting cars going around the outside of him. You want to take it very, very easy into the first bit of the braking zone, then power out of the second part, which forms turn 2. Then you see he's going through the S's now. You can go double file here if you've really got the courage to do so.
At speed, quite difficult, isn't it?
It's very difficult to take 2 wide. And then this is the International Horseshoe. Very, very tricky right-hander. I've seen so many times drivers come out of pit lane, onto the racetrack, then into the grass, into the wall, as soon as they hit that braking zone. It's horrible on cold tyres, horrible on cold brakes.
Well, I tell you what, it's quite similar to Charlotte Road, really, isn't it? When Charlotte's, they're both circuits. I mean, drawn on the back of a fag packet, really, aren't they? You know, you look at, you think, an oval, I need an infield, what shall I do? Just draw some wavy lines in the middle somewhere, but they are quite good. They do produce some excellent racing. We've seen some excellent racing here.
Oh yeah, and so we just went through that left-hand kick. That is one of the trickiest corners on the racetrack, because you can take it almost flat out if you've got the courage and the setup to do so, but the speed draw close on that is tremendous. Then a very tricky right-hander, you've got to let the car settle before you get into that corner, and then turn it in, straight on the power, straightforward run down, left-hander. You want to try and get a wide exit onto the banking, very wide exit onto the banking so that you can build that speed up all the way onto the banking. Normally it's not the sort of thing you want to do, run too wide out the exit of the corner, but here, if you do so, you can really make up a lot of speed as you get onto this 30-degree banking.
I see. I seem to remember the first guy who had a wave around was Eric Biggs in Tony the Tiger car. So I've just hopped there. He's catching up the field slowly. He's really sort of giving it large around his National Horseshoe. He's really. I think he's going to be the first guy to catch up the back of the pack.
And the lights are out on this car, so unless they're going to extend this caution period by another lap, we are going to be going green this time by, which will be interesting to see if these cars manage to get around and kind of out the way. I say that in the nicest way possible. In the next minute or so.
I tell you what, looking in front of him at the pace car is Garrett, I think. I think that's what his name is. Jason Garrett too, who's screaming ahead now. It will be nice there, if we ever have a caution again, just to get on the pace car, just to do a rear chase as well, just to see behind, just to look at the field lining up. It's a lot of cars lined up. I tell you what, just behind Trace there's an MX-5, and that's going to cause a little bit of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. The forgotten MX-5, so to say. And for those of you who are British viewers who watched Top Gear last week, you know just how scary one certain broadcaster seems to think being a pace car driver is.
Yeah, very much so. I tell you what, that that MX, you know, a better story. That MX-5 racer is none other than John Montoya, long lost second cousin of Joan, probably. But however, on the front of his car is Oh No Racing. What fantastic!
Oh yeah,
it's almost prophetic, isn't it?
Caution lights are back on the pace car. I think they realised that there is an MX-5 right in the middle of things, which should get the wave around, hopefully, very, very quickly.
Well, I'm just going to go through. Maybe he's had it. Maybe he hasn't taken any notice of it. Maybe he's looking at the back of the MX, the back of the old Mustang. All the lights of the pace car are enchanted.
Yeah.
Oh, he has. He got a wave around. He's not taken it.
So the 15 doesn't realise that actually he should be ahead of Trace, who's just sitting there patiently. And for Trace, maybe this is paying off now. You know, he looks as though he took about a second or so less in pit lane. So this fuel gamble looks like it's paying off with this extended caution.
Maybe Trace has bribed John just to say, listen, mate, drive the next, hour or so, under an hour, round just like this, waiting for the wave through, and we'll see what happens. I'll cross the line with I love my conspiracy theories.
We are going to be halfway through the next time we hit the flag. So we've done 19 laps so far, of which I think about 4 of them now has been under the pace car. So it'll be interesting to see whether this race will go green to the end now.
Now, what happens if he doesn't take his way through? He's on it. He's on it like a carb on it.
I think what was happening is he was waiting for someone else.
Ah, an EOL penalty. What's one of those then, Will?
End of the longest line, which in this case just means you go to the back of the grid. If there's double file restarts, it means you'll go to the end of the longest line. Occasionally, you'd have cars pitting with the one to go signal, so they would.
Well, he's pulled up. He's pulled up on the infield.
Yeah, he's going to have to let everyone by him. You're going to have to let everyone by him. If it was double file racing, you sometimes have drivers come down to top off fuel with 1 lap to go. And the way NASCAR and IndyCar rules work is they'd line up on the inside row single file behind the cars who stayed out. And the end of the longest line means essentially you just go to the very back, as it says, the end of the longest line, so you don't gain any advantage at all. It's the most penalised you could get about getting the green flag, black flag.
Oh, okay. Well, let's look now. How far through are we? We've got 39 minutes left. Plus, I can see how long we got. I'm trying to work it out. You're the man with the clock, so to speak.
We are almost halfway through. We're 34 minutes. Sorry, we are 44 minutes and 35 seconds.
Let's give a quick recap as well for the viewers watching, if they're having trouble watching that little ticker that does go a little bit fast sometimes. In the Grand Sports division, we have Trace McCray in first, Brian Studbeck in the second, Russell Cleason in third, Steve Branner fourth, JD Borgardner in fifth, Ayrton Ellis in sixth, David Borders in seventh, eighth is Jasper Kronweg in ninth is Alexis Molina, 10th is Ricky Dalton, hard to charge in Ricky Dalton, and 11th is Stephen McPherson, 12th is Bill Daly, 13th is Kevin Brown, 14th is Bruce Lawson. Ooh, we see a little bit of dirt there.
Green flag in the air. Green flag in the air.
Carry on the green flag.
And the 69 car building up speed as they come back into turn number 1 and single file restart. So a number of drivers will want to be trying to get on the outside because they can't pass on the inside until the start finish line, but they can around the outside. And the 10 car spun on the last corner there, coming to the restart. It looks as though so far everyone is pretty... Oh, sorry. The James Wood there in the number 28 machine almost got tagged into the wall there, coming out of 2, but apart from that it looks as though everyone is pretty much with it.
That's interesting. That's what a clean restart, so hopefully we can get underway now. We get a few laps underway. We just see a few dive bombing into International Horseshoe. But it's good that each drivers give each other enough room to do it successfully. Or they try and swing back out and get the run on them.
And you'll see now the field is closer together, you will see a lot of pack racing coming onto this oval track, oval portion of the track even. And JD Bugenhander, as an example, is closing right up on the car in front. We're looking at the number 7 machine of Brian Studbeck right now.
He's in the draft.
Right in the draft, trying to pull to the outside, see if he can make the move. Not going to happen in this part, but if he gets a good run through the chicane, it looks as though he's trying.
That is it. That's racecraft. That is pure and simple. The reason he went onto the outside so we can flatten out the corners and carry the speed. Fantastic. Yep. And hopefully he's in the toe.
He's definitely got the toe. He's only about 2 car lengths back. He's going to try and build that up all the way down towards the start-finish line. And he's definitely closing. He's down to less than a car length now. He's going to see who's going to go high, he's going to go low. He's possibly going to see if he can try and dummy here. Trying to go around the outside to go past the start-finish line side by side. Going into turn number 1. Who's going to be the last of the light breakers here? And it's going to be the 7 trying to make it around the outside. Not quite going to happen though.
There's a lot of braking left yet. I think he's been lined up now. Got it a bit sideways.
He's going to get a second chance. Going to try and go around the outside into the International Horseshoe. Still going to be side by side.
This is a game of brinksmanship now. He's been caught. He's lost 2 places almost. He's gone wide, giving the guy a little bit of room. Fantastic racing.
And this is close racing again. He's going to try and keep as close as he can now for the next couple of corners. He's probably not going to try and make a move down here. The corner tightens up dramatically as you get onto the brakes. And the 90 car has spun into turn number 1. We'll try and get a replay of that momentarily. But
is that on number 5? Is that the 5th one of the day?
It is.
Ah, fantastic.
But you see the 7 car now again onto the banking, and here you're going to see you see Trace trying to just break the draft a little bit, knowing that if he just went straight to the inside, the 7 car would have a good run coming into the bus stop. Trying to break that draft just a little bit, make it a bit more difficult for the 7 car. And as they come down, he's not going to be close enough really to make a move. And he's going to go straight down the inside, which he's going to look like he's going to try and do. Not just yet. Another time for the bus stop.
This is a reverse of the tactic. It was wide last time, wasn't it? Now it was inside. They covered the line. They covered the outside line. They've seen that trick done before.
And he's a lot closer this time as they come out of the bus stop. Now he's got the option to see whether he's going to dive down low as soon as they get onto the front stretch. The banking drops off to 18 degrees. As soon as they get out of turn 4 of the oval, he's going to go straight again to the outside.
My
God,
God,
I would have stayed a little bit closer, waited just a little bit more before he tucks into that draft.
This is sick. I thought we were going to see a bit of bump drafting there, but this is sick. 3-way in the first corner.
And you've got an MX-5 on the outside. This is going to be close.
Surprise!
Oh!
Contact.
And they hit again, the two of them.
I tell you what, Will, that could have been a lot worse.
That could have been a lot worse there.
I mean, forgive us, guys. We can see a lot of stuff going on further down the field. As into the international.
The 22 car spins it, loses it there. Oh, just managed to keep it and then spins it again. But it looks as though he's going to try and get back onto the racetrack. I thought there he was going to try and take the hairpin again there.
Well, that was Russell Cleason. He's had a great couple of laps, lots and lots of fighting.
So Russell Cleason, after getting into second, trying to make a move into first, got under power a little bit too early, lost the car just snapped loose of him coming out of the international horseshoe, and now he's back quite a number of positions. Just updating our stats here, and he is back into the 10th spot.
Oh, you know what? That in-car replay we just had of Russell Cleason, you can just see the door was closed on him, probably a bit earlier than it needed to be, really, and that caused it. That was a bit of a shame.
And Trace looks like he's got a little bit of breathing room, but again, Brian closing him right down on the draft. As soon as you get within a second, it's that magical number where you really start sucking up with the car ahead. And once you get it down to about 4 tenths, you're going to close that car by about a car length every 10 seconds you're setting the draft.
Okay, so the first three drivers are apparently separated by under a second. This is, and I'll tell you what, Ayrton Ellis in 4th and JD in 5th. They're about the same as well. They're about 3 seconds behind, but they're very, very close. There are battles going on everywhere in this circuit. Jasper and Ricky, Jasper Gromrick and Ricky Dalton in 9th and 10th are fighting. Bill Daly, Bruce Lawson 12th and 13th. This is fantastic racing through the field.
And Tony the Tiger in the Oakley number 16 machine, trying to get second in class on the MX-5s. Lost a lot of momentum there in the bus stop, and just had to take a very bad line out of it. Lost himself a good 3 tenths coming out, which means that Jason Dreifogel on the number 34 B Racing machine is going to get right onto his rear bumper as they come out of corner number 4 of the oval onto the front stretch, the famous Daytona front stretch where you've seen so many magical moments over the years. And the 34 machine looks as though he's going to try and make a move. Dummies to the inside, now looks to the outside, and almost hits the wall actually. He arcs it a little bit wrong and just almost tags the wall coming into 1. And Tony the Tiger in the number 16, I'm sorry for the new pet name by the way, Eric Briggs.
That's a great nickname.
Oh, you can tell we've been doing this for too long today, but the number 16 loses the position there, just getting loose out of 2, trying to come right back down the inside to come into the international horseshoe, and almost forcing the 2 car onto the runoff area of the track there. But some great racing going on in the MX-5s and the Ford Mustangs right now.
Do my eyes deceive you, Will, or is James Stevenson again up ahead of the MX-5 crew?
He completely is, and not only that, he's got himself a little bit of clean air as well, about 7 tenths of a second.
Fantastic. What fantastic strategic driving that was by James.
Oh yeah, definitely. And as they come into the banking, he's definitely broken the draft to an extent. So as they come into the banking, he's got a lot of momentum, so he doesn't need to worry about the cars closing him down into the bus stop. He can just take the line he wants to, doesn't need to be defensive, and this is where you see drivers really starting to pull out time.
That's fantastic. And for all of you guys who've joined a few minutes into the race, we are in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, a 90-minute race around Daytona Road for the Grand Sports and the Street Tourings. The Grand Sport are the Ford Mustangs, the Street Tourings are the MX-5s. And the story of the race really for the MX-5s is that James Stevenson, who qualified first, he took a really early pit stop because there's a mandatory pit stop for the first third of the race, and he's literally just got his place back now when everyone else did their pit stop. It's a really good strategy from Australia.
And the 82 machine of Steve Brown in the Buffalo Wings Bar and Grill, orange and blue colours, really hassling the car in front. That's Ayrton Ellis, who we talked about quite a lot earlier on. But every time we put pressure on him, he's got David Waters right behind, ready to pounce if he slips up even half a lane in the exit of one of these tight corners.
You know, I think I've seen David Waters race before. He's quite capable. Oh, big one. Eric Biggs has gone very late to turn number 1. Just narrowly must. Oh, contact between the Plum Street car and the Mustang car. Into the first corner, Eric Biggs and a Mustang went very, very late. I think that's a Mustang of Anthony Castro of all people, quite high up in the Mustang field.
And Anthony's having a horrible race. He's been involved in a number of incidences so far.
Well, that was certainly worth a replay there from Anthony Castro, car number 13, because that wasn't a very, very nice incident. That could have been avoided.
Oh yeah, you get into that stage of the race now. You know, you just got 35 minutes with a little bit of change lost left of this race, and people's really going to start putting that hammer down. You don't know whether or not you're going to get another caution, and if you do get another caution, you're going to want to make sure that you're lined up into a position where you can charge the lead if you have to.
Absolutely. I think we've got a replay now. Let's see if we just get it. I mean, Anthony Castro was catching 3 MX-5s in the first corner. There's so much, you have to move the car around so much for this first corner. You just go nice and easy about it. You can see the old Tony the Tiger went off, and they all came back on. Everyone sort of got together, and it was nasty, nasty little accident. Straight in the wall for the Plum Street car.
And meanwhile, Eric Briggs in the number 16 lives to fight another day. And you got a spinner in turn 1. It looks like the track's staying green momentarily though.
Is that number 6?
That is number 6.
Spin number 6. For any of you guys that joined us quite late, we had a little side bet. How many people missed the first corner and or had an accident there? I believe Will chose 5 people, didn't you?
I chose 5, you chose 15, so you need 8 to win.
Okay, gotcha. So easily done.
It's really weird. Oh, sorry, the number 72 car getting very slidey into corner number 7 there. Really slidey. Couldn't get back on the power at all coming up that corner there. That's Bill Daly we're talking about. But it seems as though, whilst it's all calmed down, as Bill Daly again getting very, very loose, loses it almost, but not quite.
He's lost all his run now, isn't he, really? He's going to be picked off.
Yeah. Whilst the field settled down a little bit, at the same time, you know, you've still got a number of battles across the racetrack. It's just, thankfully, 1 or 2 drivers fighting for position rather than 7 or 8 drivers fighting for position.
Oh, great. These cars, it's a lovely little V8 brawl when the back end does kick out. They are quite catchable, but it looks great, feels great when you're driving, but you do end up going really, really slowly.
Oh, yeah. Japanese drift style racing isn't always the fastest way around these racetracks.
No.
And we have almost hit the hour mark, so we've got about 30 minutes left in this race. And Trace McRae is starting to come under attack from a new challenger. This is JD Baumgardner, I believe is the right way of saying that.
I think the name is that.
Baumgardner.
He's come from way far back. That's fantastic racing from JD.
And he's really, really closing in on Trey now. Whether or not he can use the fact he's in the draft now to close up and make the pass happen is going to be interesting. And the 77 car of Jasper Groenwag has spun in turn number 1. So that's... He
was fighting for 8th with Bill.
So is that 7 now?
Yes, 7. Writing them down. Tick them off. We've also looked further down in the MX-5 battle as well. Because there is a 3-way battle between Jason Bifogel, Matthew Ryan Noel, and Eric Biggs as well, which is nice. I believe that's the was on the main display earlier. It was on the main stream.
And the 63 car, just looking at him, he's not that confident getting onto the banking. Well, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can close down coming into the bus stop. But I'm going to have a quick look there.
We're looking at Eric Biggs, who's just taken turn 1, taken another place in turn 1, and is right up the rear of Matthew Reynolds. Fantastic. Jason Bifogel has pretty much lost 2 positions in the first corner.
And Matthew Reinhold blinking a little bit, which is going to make life very difficult for Biggs. Is he going to see if he can go to the inside?
It's the ultimate
Almost
surprise
contact.
back moment, isn't it?
And this is going to be interesting because he's going to get the draft coming into this hard sweeping left-hander. But whether or not he's going to be able to commit to making a move just yet is going to be interesting. And as I was saying earlier, because of the fact that Reinhold is lagging out, it's going to make a bit more difficult for Biggs to catch him in the draft because he won't get the same effect as he was Reinhold actually fully up to, I won't say what speed is, fully up to internet capacity.
Have we got a crash in turn number 2 from car number 10?
I believe we do.
That's Hang Ho Tao. And I can say Hang Ho Tao is, to go all beardy, he's got a massive, massive ping. He's really, really having connection trouble. Hang is one of our international drivers from Club International, really. I guess he's out in East Asia somewhere.
And 16, so just looking at 16, trying to go around the outside into the bus stop. That's not going to work. He's going to have to take a very bad angle into the bus stop now. And loses all kinds of momentum coming out of it.
I've just seen that Hang race, and I'll tell you what, Robin's race, and he really did bang doors. It was like a synchronised hit.
Yeah.
Collected as well by the car. Now all the MX-5s darting through, closing their eyes that moment when the smoke clears. Please don't hit me.
So the 16 is, again, he lost all kinds of momentum there, trying to go to the outside. Maybe he's just trying to see where he can make the pass, where he can't. He's closing dramatically to go into turn number 1. It looks like he's going to see if he can go around the outside as they come into the corner. Not quite going to happen this time. No outside pass going to happen this time. Unless he's going to try and do the switch down to the inside. Not happening either. But now he's going to see whether he can line him up to get the right line coming into the international horseshoe, and it looks like he's hard on the brakes. They're going to go side by side, and they touch. 16 of the 44 hit into the horseshoe.
Oh, I tell you what, did you see number 44 stamp on the brakes then?
Yeah.
That was proper rough house racing, that was.
And somehow the 44 managed to keep it in some form of a straight line. He lost himself 2 positions out of it, but 3 positions even, but thankfully he managed to keep it pointing shiny side up, and the 16 car is coming under all kinds of pressure now.
And bit of contact. I believe everyone's watching a replay of the incident with the 16 car bone. You just see how on board as well, you lucky chaps. It's close racing, but it's not over yet.
Yeah, the 34 car managed to get ahead as they come onto the banking, but you'll notice this, come the last lap, sometimes like in the Daytona 500, you'll notice that being ahead in the last lap isn't always the most advantage thing to be, because you lose opportunity to try and make that last lap overtake with the slipstream on that last lap. Thankfully you have the bus stop here to kind of break that momentum, but it's still possible to make a last lap pass on the outside and make it stick when it really matters.
So well, we've seen quite a lot, especially with the MX-5s, we've seen quite a lot of panel bashing. How do you think this is going to affect the races? Because there will be damage sort of totting up. I mean, the doors are okay for one thing, but the rear geometry of the wheels, especially on these circuits, that's going to take a lot of top end off.
Oh yeah, I mean, the most important parts of the car are obviously the suspension, which directly relates to the way the car steers, and the bodywork, which obviously conducts the aeroflow of the car, which generates downforce. Now, bashing the side part of the car isn't going to make too much difference, but if you hitting that front part of the bodywork or the rear part of the bodywork, it's just going to slow you down, essentially. And if you manage to catch a wheel in that, it's just going to tweak that handling, so you're not going to be able to be as comfortable when you need to be into the corners. And, you know, it's not that difficult to have a second and a half loss for no reason apart from the fact that you just had slight contact and it's tweaked your steering, you know, 5 degrees to the left or 5 degrees to the right.
We're still watching Eric Biggs, or I'm still watching Eric Biggs anyway, because he's quite captivating. He's just lost out to number 33 now. He's having battles every lap of the race. It's fantastic. And I've just noticed as well, Kevin Butchholz, who was qualified second for the MX-5s, he's had to withdraw. He's a DNF for the day, which is a terrible shame for Kevin on the first race of a 10-race championship.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you see the 16 car trying to line up the 34 again. I don't think he's going to try and make a pass just yet. But he's going to want good momentum coming up this corner as he goes onto the banking. See whether he can undercut as they come onto the banking. It looks like he's going to have a go. Yes, he's going to get the inside line as you come down into the bus stop, and this is the line that you're going to want to have. The 34 is going to pinch him right down there, though. As you see, inches apart on the banking.
Oh, this is proper. I mean, he's got it now. It's just as and when 34 wants to tuck back into the draft.
Unless the 34 is going to try the old cut across. 16 now trying to move to the outside of the track to get the optimal braking point.
Well, 33's got him on the inside. Look at that. There's nothing he can do now. In fact, I hope this isn't a dive bomb, a really bad dive bomb.
33 tucked in, manages to get a good run through the corner, but now he's going to be the one having the opportunity to overtake 16, possibly coming into turn 1 next time by.
Tell you what, we're seeing some fantastic camera positions here from our Finnish broadcasters, right on the roll cage, right on the roof, Ryan Worley view, fantastic.
And the 33 car is looking right to the outside. And this is what I mean. From the last lap, at this point, if this was to happen, the 33 car would get the position. And the 33 car can almost now just tuck back in so long as he's late enough on the brakes, get straight to that inside line, but it wasn't quite comfortable there. 16 manages to cut back on the inside.
He's got to tuck himself in now as he get the run.
And I wouldn't call that being losing it in turn 1, I'm sorry. That's just going slightly wide.
I tell you what, Will, with all this excitement, we've forgotten what's going on at the top end of the race. I believe Tracy McRae's ill first, followed by JD and then Brian. Ayrton's 12 seconds away from the lead, followed by Russell Clayson and Steve Brown. Hey, Russell Cleason's got himself back up again.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Stevenson, James Stevenson from Australia, he holds out the first place, followed by Ryan Worley with the MX-5s, and Eric with the battle we're seeing now, Daytona the Tiger car.
And let's not forget, in 2 weeks' time, the series will be heading on to Barber Motorsports Park for round 2 of the series. The race will start at, 11:30 once again, Greenwich Mean Time. Go to Wikipedia if you want to find out what time that is in America. I think it's 5 hours on the East Coast.
My eyes, are they deceiving me? Is there a caution flag?
There is a caution on the racetrack.
Oh, we get to do this again. Where's the caution? I believe turn number 1, maybe a car called 75 hit the wall. That's what our director, is telling us.
Yep.
And our director, he's got a legion of spotters out there somewhere around the circuit.
So again, what the pace car is doing, if you're looking at the pace car right now, the pace car is just waiting for the leader to come past the start-finish line so they can pick him up as quickly as possible. What will happen, the cars will line up single file behind the leader. Some of these cars that are only a couple of seconds ahead of the leader, they've got to go all the way back around the racetrack. And then once the cars are single file, the Mazdas will possibly get a wave around. Being this late in the race, they've only got about 20 minutes left. They might just get an EOL penalty, all of them in order, and then from there the cars will line up single file to get the restart. So just waiting for the pace car to pick up the leader. Having a look now, it has come out onto the track. Currently in the International Horseshoe, picking up Michael C. West, who is back in the race once again, and the Intel Core i5 GoPro 45 racing machine. So you see a number of the MX-5s who are ahead of the leader going past, getting their lap back automatically.
I noticed in all the feed we're getting from the clerk of the course and the stewards, that all the writings in pink. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, it stands out. So you know exactly.
Alex Moliner. It's literally just missed turn number 1. That's number 8. avoided. That's Alex Mollo, what car? 75. He's the one that actually calls the yellow flag, calls the caution. Had a big wobble that took him off in corner number 1.
Wow. So I'm just having a look to see where Trace is. He is on the banking, about to catch the pace car, literally slowing down now for the pace car itself. Pace speed around here is about 60-65 miles an hour. So very, very long pace laps here, unfortunately. On a lap that's normally 2 minutes long as it is.
That's an unfortunate moment for Alex. At least it's under yellow, at least he can catch up. And it doesn't look like he's lost any places either.
No, and for Trace McRae, all that hard work he did fending off Jody Baumgardner, he's going to have to do all over again. But he gets the advantage of being the pole sitter, of dictating the speed for the restart, so only he will know when he's actually going to go.
And conversely as well, of course, Russell Clayson, his incident earlier, this has allowed him to maybe close the gap up, and also Brian Stodderbeck as well. He's now potentially back in the field.
Oh yeah, definitely. And as the pace car picks up the field, don't forget that if you would like to know more about Glacier TV, you can go to glaciertv.com, find out about all the many varieties of series that they broadcast, and if you are a league admin and would like to have your series broadcast, find out all the information on glaciertv.com.
And we can, bit of information as well, Matthew Reinhold was given an end of line penalty. I don't know if that's been said already.
No, it has now though, and it looks as though Trace McRae is coming down pit lane. Does he want to fresh tyres?
There's another car behind crabbing into pit lane as well. Let's find out who that is.
I believe JD has stayed out. JD will inherit the race lead.
Ooh, Ayrton Ellis is crabbing into the pit lane properly, and then he's followed by another one, I think.
I believe that Trace is one of the only drivers that's actually come in pit lane here. So that's going to shake things up a little bit. Trace McRae is now going to have to try and come through the field in what's only going to be about 10 to 15 minutes of green flag racing. That's going to be 5 laps to make up all these positions.
Yeah, I mean, this is sorry for the silence, guys. We're just sort of trying to work out who's in pit lane and what this is going to cause for the rest of the race. But if Trace McRae's got to come back through the field, that's going to be fantastic.
And once again, don't forget that in 2 weeks' time, the Continental Endurance Sport Car Series will head to Barber Motorsports Park. February 25th, race starts at 11:30 GMT. That's about 6:30 PM Eastern, if my mathematics gets me right.
You've been Wikipedia, haven't you?
I have. And then a couple of weeks later, they're going to go to Homestead Miami Speedway for Road Course B, which I tell you what, that is one hell of a good roval track. And so,
really, what's the combination like? Is it another fag packet type circuit, or is it a
yes and no
road course?
It's a mixture. Homestead Miami Speedway is what, as a little kid, you think an oval is. You know, 2 straightaways, 2 180-degree corners, piece it all together. That's an oval. The road course is very trickery. The last couple of corners, especially, very, very tight onto the front straightaway, but very, very good track to race on. And then they're going to be heading over to Virginia, Mid-Ohio, Road America, Watkins Glen, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which I believe will be the road version, Laguna Seca, home of the famous corkscrew, and concluding the season at Lime Rock.
Well, I tell you what, Will, the corkscrew in MX-5, it's a scary proposition.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And don't forget, all races will be broadcast live on Glacier TV, along with live timing and scoring.
Just a quick recap of the MX-5. The top 3 are still James Stevenson, Ryan Worley and Jason Bifogel. I believe Ricky Dalton's dropped a fairway. I think that's probably one of the other chaps that came into the pits, really. And Antti Tunoman, who's our highest placed Finn at the moment. Who's I think we know Anti's got some fans in the studio.
And just for those of you who are, I can't say tuning in, one of my old friends will kill me if I say that, because you can't tune a website apparently. But for those of you who have just decided to watch live online, as you would tell me to do, the two different classes in this race, you have the GS class, the Grand Sport I believe it's called, which is the Ford Mustangs, and then you have the Street Touring, which is the Mazda MX-5 Cup cars. So it's the one that has the steering wheel on the left hand side, not the right hand side.
That's the wrong hand side, isn't it?
No, the Rose is the one on the right hand side.
Aha, okay. But the right hand side is the correct hand side.
Correct.
And the left hand side is the wrong hand side.
Yes, unless you're an American, in which case you'll completely disagree with what you just said.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll say that argument for the bar.
Yeah.
When I say bar, I don't mean the legal bar, I mean the pub bar.
Okay. But yes, we have been doing this almost non-stop for about 3-4 hours now, so if we are going slightly crazy, feel free to make some form of complaint to us.
Absolutely. We are quite far through the race now. There can't be that many minutes left. On the website, it's saying about 7 or 8 or so minutes, but I know we've got about 3-4 minutes after that when the race actually finishes. Because obviously we've had the safety car, we've had the rolling start that's taken some time off.
Yeah. So the time that you look at on your screen, if you add 5 minutes and 50 seconds onto that, that is the real time. So when we get into the last couple of laps, there won't be a flag displayed, but we'll keep you up to date exactly where it is until when the last real lap is. So just bear with us and we'll guide you through the last couple of laps, and don't worry, you won't miss a thing. But it's going to be an interesting shootout. Looking at Trace McClay, he is going to be 10th on this restart, and he's a driver who I'm thinking might use the rules for his advantage here. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not drivers realise that you can actually overtake on the high side, shall we say, of the oval before the start-finish line. So if you see him hanging back, expect him to go to the high side as soon as the pace car pulls in.
I tell you what, you couldn't guess this race. You just throw all the cars in the air, see which one lands first. You know, it's all completely. Is Trace going to get that far up in the last, in however long's left in the race? Because it seems like that's massively punished him coming into the pits.
Yes and no. Don't forget, having fresh tyres at this late stage of the race is not going to do anything but good. Fresh rubber is always the advantage. He's probably warming those tyres up now in his race car, making sure he's got, the right amount of fuel in the car to get to the end. And for Trace right now, his one and only aim is to get up there quickly. I mean, you might be able to get through the first 5 or so cars in the first lap, but as soon as the field starts spreading out, he's going to have to pick them off one by one. And it's that stage of the race where you're really going to see cars behaving themselves.
But I mean, how many cars are really running on fumes at the minute? I don't think I think all their setups are absolutely sorted now. There can't be too many people. Oh, hello, there's a spinner on the end of the bus stop.
I just noticed that.
That's a bad place to park.
It was... Sorry, I keep on losing it every time I come back. It is Matthew Reinhall.
Now Matthew, interesting story. He's just had his black flag clear. I believe he's must have had his black flag through either an end of line type thing, or maybe he's been in the pit lane or something like that. It doesn't look like he's carrying any sort of damage for any shenanigans that's going on.
No, he was just given an end of longest line penalty. Just coming back up to the top of the GT field. The lights are off on the pace car. So JD Baumgardner will bring the field back to the green flag with literally 10 minutes to go here at Daytona. And Jody brings the field back up, green flag in the air, back to racing here at Daytona. And you can see already cars going too wide. Chase, surprisingly enough, looks as though he actually fell back a little bit at that restart.
Well, this first corner should sure be fun because it's a proper sprint now.
Oh yeah, definitely. You see, all eyes are on Trace. He's made one move, coming down to the inside, trying to get that line past one car already. He's going to see if we can do another one as we get into the International Horseshoe. This is going to be electric to watch here.
Well, James Stevenson and Brian Worley are battling into the International Horseshoe now. It's pretty much they are side by side. Number 33 and car number 11 They're also catching Oh No Racing from one of the other MX-5s. It's John Montoya as well, who's thrown another spanner in the works. And furthermore, they've got a Mustang behind them as well. So this is close stuff. They are really fighting now. They're side by side for pretty much most of the infield.
And Trace managed to overtake not one but two cars in 3 corners, both on the unoptimal line. So it shows just how hard he's pushing and possibly just how well these fresh tyres are helping him right now. As he comes onto the banking, he actually overtook someone on the outside of the International Horseshoe, going down the inside immediately to attempt to make another pass. This time on Bill Daly. I'm sure he just let him pass there, but he's immediately catching up to Kevin Brown, and that will be for 6th position.
Well, this is fantastic. He's absolutely on it. I mean, I think he's done this out of choice now because he wanted to give him something else to do. He's so bored of leading the race.
Oh, look at that, they're going to be too wide. Almost contact there, so he'll come to the second part of the bus stop. And Chase now is going to have to see whether he can split these two guys in the middle, because he's pinned down to the inside. So the number 14 on the outside is going to pinch him down. So it doesn't matter how slow that car is ahead, he's just going to follow him for the moment. Now he can go to the outside if he needs to.
That is boxed in. That is close. 4 cars to go to the first corner. That is close. This is not going to end out well.
And Trace in the 69 going to come dummy to the outside and going back down to the inside. A little bit early on the brake, seeing if he's going to do that painted cut across. And the car 2 ahead of him, I believe that is Steve Brown, almost lost it under braking there. Slowed both cars down a little bit. And David Waters in that Maker's Mark car gets passed by Trace McRae in the confusion.
Well, I think there was a little bit of tap there, wasn't there, from Trace?
A little bit of love kiss, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's chasing down David Waters now. It'll be interesting because Trace has been an extremely fast driver in qualification, so he's got some lap speed under him. So it'll be interesting to see if he catches David by the end of the lap.
And just a heads up, I think the Tiger car, the number 16, does look like he's out of the race now. We'll have to have a look back to see what happened there, but he could have been involved in an incident on that restart. He is 1 lap down as we speak.
Well, I'm certainly trying to find Eric. I can't find Eric Pigson on the circuit somewhere.
I think he just had damage and stopped on the racetrack and decided his day was over. But in the MX-5s, James Stevenson is leading by a 2.5 seconds over Ryan Hawley in second in class. Jason Bleifogel is right behind in what is almost a 3-4 car battle for second in class right now, with Antti Tuneman, Jason Bleifogel and Ryan Hawley going at it, and they're going to almost collect each other on the banking there, Ryan and Antti.
Well, I think they're standing very now. We've got to look at Trace, because I believe Trace has done David Waters.
Definitely, yep. He is up into 5th.
Hasn't updated on the screen yet, but I can certainly see David behind him.
And our spotters are telling us that Trace is, and I can confirm this, Trace is up into 4th with just over 6 minutes to go here.
Well, this is going to be a great end of race.
And
just look at how he's braking. He's not locking up or anything. He's just getting it slowed down nicely. Bit of a slide on the entry as well.
And I tell you what, he's got 4.5 seconds to gain in 3 laps. But these fresh tyres definitely looks like he can do it.
And his fastest quali was a 204.7. He's just pulled out a 205.1. So I don't know how much fuel he's got in there, but this is going to be fantastic.
And that gap's read down to just about 3.5 seconds, judging by my watch. So, you know what, the way he's doing it, he's possibly just about going to make it in time to make that, you know, hero move on that last lap like we were talking about earlier.
Well, hang on a second. I mean, the first 3 drivers are very, very close. They're within a second and a half of each other, you know. Brian Stobake, JD Baumgartner and Russell Claesman, you know, Trace has got to get past those guys when he catches up, if he does catch up, you know, because those guys ain't going to let him fast. They ain't going to let him past him. JD Barngard is really racing. He spent a lot of his time in second place. It's pretty much always the bridesmaid, never the bride, you know.
And just a head up for all of our watchers, once that clock reaches 5 minutes 50, I know it's counting up now as well as down, once it reaches 5 minutes 50, that will be when the white flag will be displayed for the last lap of the race. So for Trace now, it is an absolute race against the clock. Gap is down to 3.4 seconds on the banking, and what's not going to help Trace is the fact that these three drivers ahead are all in each other's draft, so these guys are being able to pull away from him a little bit. If he was to catch them one at a time, he would have a lot more advantage than he does now. And you see Trace just gently scrapes the wall there, coming into one. Took such a wide arc. He's got Mazda MX wide ahead of him. Sure, exited the pit lane illegally. He should get a penalty for that.
Oh, there wasn't a very clever thing to do. Just looking at the back marks as well, we seem to have...
and 63 car, sorry, I believe that's the 63 car, JD, into the spin there. And that means that Trace is closing down, but JD, I'm going to have to go in and have a look back at that replay there. But coming into the international horseshoe, you can see the 63 car just gets hit from behind by the 22 of Russell Clayson. Nothing that Jody can do. Looking at it from the rear angle, that it literally breaks for the corner, and it's not even a dive bomb, it's just literally shoved out of the way. I don't know if these guys think they're at Bristol Motor Speedway or something, but...
Well, that was certainly rude, wasn't it? And how lucky is Trace McRae?
Definitely very lucky.
He's back onto the podium now. That was a very dive bombish thing to do. It's so late in the race as well.
And you see, looking at the tyre smoke of the two cars ahead of him, they are definitely pushing for the race lead. Ryan Strodeback is leading at the present moment in time from Russell Clayson in the 22.
A battle behind Trace between Keith Brown and Steve Brown as well. Obviously not brother, it's slightly different spelling in the second name, but there's a four-way battle there, soon to be caught by five. It's going on quite well. It doesn't really concern us for the podium at the moment because Trace is still chasing down Russell.
And in the Mazda MX-5s, after separating themselves out, Antti Troman is trying to go around the outside of Ryan Hawley, gets a little bit of a push there. It almost looks as though Hawley just decided to turn left a little bit to stop him. And Antti just had to give up there, otherwise he would have made a great move on the outside there of Ryan Hawley. And now you're going to have to see whether or not that number 90 machine of Antti can get into the draft, down into the bus stop, because you've only got about a lap and a half left to go here in this race. So this is where it really is go time.
Oh, there's a confirmation that Joseph Fario did blow his engine up. We saw him smoking in the pits. I can see these Finnish guys certainly drive better sideways anyway, so he's done a pretty good job, Antti.
Oh yeah, definitely. And with one lap, possibly white flag this time by, this is where these drivers are definitely going to start pushing. Trace McRae has caught the lead.
We've got a bus stop accident as well between number 4 and number 68.
The track is still green at this moment in time. Whether or not the race control will keep the race green to the end. Brian Taylor is smoking on the outside lane of turn number 3 there, trying to bring it down to the apron. This is going to do nothing for the visibility of drivers behind him, with cars going off all over the place in turn 1 and turn 4.
Well, my God, Antti and Ryan Woolley are side by side on the infield for second place in the MX-5s in the Street Touring.
And can you see just how close Trace was to the wall there? Cutting the course almost, not quite. I think he'll just about get away with that there. But then look at that, they're trying to trade paint. The 22 is trying to force him down onto the apron there, coming onto the oval. Very dirty driving there by Russell Clayton, the number 22 machine. But Trace is still going to see if we can make a move on the inside, I'm guessing, will be the way he'll go first. And the white flag is in hand. 1 lap to go here at Daytona.
Right, he's got him now on the outside. I did see a blink earlier from Brian as well. It's disconcerting, especially when there's also Russell when there's this much pressure.
Oh, sorry. I believe actually that is the end of the race. Sorry about that. And Brian Strudback wins the race by 0.81 seconds over Russell Clayton. Trace McRae at the line, 7/1000th of a second behind. Just shows how much Trace was pushing there. Unfortunately, he was probably just a lap shy on being able to get at least second position there.
Well, what a great race we've seen at Daytona Road today, with all the drivers from the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. Some fantastic racing for the Grand Sports and some fantastic racing for the Street Touring.
And we're looking now, James Stevenson about to take the checkered flag for the Mazda MX-5 division. Brings that car home to claim first place for the MX-5 division. Wins the race by about 4 seconds. And side by side for second position, you're going to have anti-Truman. Ryan gets him at the line by less than 2/100ths of a second.
Wow, I mean, we knew this was going to put some good racing, but that's fantastic.
That was a very, very, very close finish there.
We'll see a replay of that. I think a replay of Anti's finish.
Brian Bifogel comes home 4th in the Mazdas, and the car is just finishing, peeling off at the end of the race. Hango Tao, who's had a battered and bruised race car, manages to come home 5th, I believe, sorry, 6th in class. A tremendous fight back by him and that number 10 machine. But we'll run through the final results momentarily once everyone manages to cross the line. Which I think they're almost done. So it's that time of the race again, why I have to get my bottle of water ready.
There's going to be a lot of talk ahead. I think we've got some people, maybe we're going to pop into the commentators booth for a bit of an interview as well.
Okay, so run through the order first in the Ford Mustang division. The honours go to Brian Strudback with a race time of 1 hour 30 minutes 5 seconds, 0.571. So very close to actually going another lap there. In second position, Russell Clayton at 0.817 seconds behind. Trace McRae, you saw that last lap. Very, very close between them. Some almost dirty racing between Russell and Trace there on that last lap, coming out of the bus stop on the last lap. Fourth will be Kevin Brown, who's almost 10 seconds behind the race leader. Jody Baumgardner, who you saw is in second position until he got rear-ended by Russell with 2 laps to go. Finishes in 5th. And sorry about that. Stop distracting me, Rob. In 6th, you have David Waters. In 7th, Bill Daly. 8th is Alexis Moliner. 9th, Stefan McPherson. 10th, Jasper Grainwag. And 11th, Steve Brown. 12th, Ricky Dalton. 13th, Ayrton Ellis. And then your retirement on not classified results are Anthony Castro, Joseph Ottofero, Brian Taylor, Bruce Lawson, James Wood, and Edmund Hirschberger. And then moving on to the MX-5 Cup division. We're leading the way in the MX-5 Cups was James Stevenson, who finished only 55 seconds behind the overall race winner. So that is a seriously good result there. And he finished about 6 seconds ahead of that very close battle between Ryan Hawley and Twenneman. Who, as I say, at the line, 2/100ths of a second between those two. Photo finish in the MX-5s. Jason Bifogel, who was in that mix for a long period, comes home 4th. Michael Morrison comes home 5th. Hango Tao, who had such a treacherous day for a large portion of the race, manages to keep it together to claim 6th position. John Ricard manages to get 7th in the number 5 machine. Fernando Ferreira, 8th. Giancarlo Lenzi, who we were talking about earlier, such a great name, who drove his way up into position number 2 early on in the race, finishes 9th in the end. Jarrett Lawson in 10th. Peter Brennan, Matthew Reinhold finished 2 laps down. And then your retirements, John Montoya, Eric Biggs, Jason Garrett, Joseph Peake, Michael West, Kevin Buck Holes, Stan Johnson, Chris Moraine, and Stephanie Moraine.
Well, I'll tell you what, Will, that's some fantastic, fantastic names there for you to do. I honestly, for a few minutes, I did think that Giancarlo Lenzi was going to win it for a moment, because he was quite half at one point, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he charged his way from literally about 15th up to second, and then it kind of disintegrated in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, and Garrett Lawson had an instant pat race, but they didn't get laps, those guys. I can see that there's in 7th place John Richard finish. I never trust a man with two first names. And what a race by James Stevenson. I love that. The statistician from the guy, fantastic.
And if you're going to pick a driver of the race, I mean, personally, there's only... In fact, we'll do one per class, and for the Mustangs, I think it's impossible to say anything apart from Trace McRae. Yes, he only came third, but at the same time, you know, he drove his backside off to get back into third position on that late race restart.
But I didn't fully understand why Trace pitted.
I was thinking that perhaps he was expecting one more lap, and if he had one more lap, he potentially could have got it. He was only after one more lap, and, you know, he could have had a chance of the win. In the MX-5 division, I think that James just dominated the day. Pure and simple.
No, I'm certainly going to call it for James Stevenson. That's my drive of the day by a country mile. Followed closely by, I guess, producer's favourite Ante as well. That's quite a good race from Ante. We did have a chap to interview, but he seems to have disappeared.
Yeah. Hi, Ricky, and bye, Ricky. If you want to come back, feel free to.
Well, I think he's exited stage left. I'll tell you what, Ricky Dalton had a fairly busy race. He had a few incidents here and there, but he finished. I'll tell you what, persistence of the day goes to a chap called Michael C. West, who we kept on seeing disconnect and reconnect, and I believe he was still going at the end.
Oh, yeah. I believe that he only ended up a couple of laps down as well.
I don't know if he's one of those.
5 laps.
He's one of those drivers that pulled into the pit, hopped over the fence, and went for a beer, and then got back in the car. You know, obviously we don't advocate drinking and driving, chaps.
Yeah. Even if it is online sim racing, not good.
Absolutely.
But very, very, very good race from a number of drivers. Very close battles all the way up and down the field, and this is what you expect in multi-class racing. The field gets broken up and comes back together. Drivers work together. Drivers fight against each other. But, you know, only 2 full-course cautions that entire race, and whilst they were slightly longer than some, it was still a very, very close race.
But they certainly helped sort of bunch it up a little bit, and it was a nice little spectacle to see. Very interesting to see the full course caution bring people back together and see how it sort of shook things up a little, especially with with pit lane strategy, stuff like that.
So we're just going to wait and see if we have any drivers who'd like to come and share their thoughts on the race with us. Don't forget that the series will return in 2 weeks' time at Barber Motorsports Park for round 2 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. Race time will be 11:30 GMT, which makes that 6 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want any more, go online and find out. Then the series will move on to Homestead Miami Speedway, Virginia, Mid-Ohio, Red America, Watkins Glen, Indianapolis, and Laguna Seca, before concluding on June 16th at Lime Rock Park, a 90 minutes endurance race.
Oh, I love a bit of Lime Rock. Lime Rock's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I drove the Indy cars there a couple of months ago, and literally when you go up the hill, the car just tilts 45 degrees in the air, and you just got to try and catch it when it comes back down.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good. That's almost a bit Le Mans, isn't it, with the old Mercedes when they've got a bit of wind under it.
Yeah.
That's got to be proper pants in whatever moment.
And if you have missed any of the race today, or any of the banter we've been talking about, don't forget you can check out the entire race on demand by visiting glaciertv.com, as well as finding out more about other race series broadcast by Glacier. And if you are a league admin and you'd like your race broadcast or your race series broadcast, all the details are on there as well.
Well, I tell you what, Will, these drivers must think that we bite.
I know.
We don't. We've even got the champagne ready and a few choice pretzels.
It's not champagne, it's very, very bad sparkling Lambrini.
Yeah, bang on. Yeah, we roll out the barrel here, literally.
Yeah. a big thank you as well to both Yano and Yoni, who's been our second pair of eyes and ears all race long. There's been so much action to call this race that it's almost been difficult to focus on one thing for any more than 30 seconds because we keep on getting a heads up there's something happening in turn one, there's a car overtaking a car somewhere elsewhere. But big thank you to Yoni, big thank you to Yano for being those extra pair of ears for us so we could deliver the message to you.
Yeah, fantastic work from these guys. And let's face it, I think the only reason they're up this long because they're snowed in the house in a minute.
Yeah.
Ah, I believe we have a driver. He's been coaxed into the channel with pretzels and weak champagne. Welcome, Mr. Ayrton Ellis.
Hey.
And how are you doing?
I'm good.
Did you enjoy the race?
I messed up in that last caution.
Oh, bad times. Where did you finish in the end? Let's have a little look down. You
13th.
finished 13th. Wow, you did drop down because you were running up in easily in top 5 for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in 3rd in that last caution, but on that chicane, I was used to not going fast there, and I guess I was going over 80 or something and went straight to the wall, and I had to have like 4 seconds of repairs.
Wow.
Coming into having to have a pit stop so late into the race after working so hard, you know, we saw Trace McRae ahead of you try and side his way through the field, but with damage in your race car, it must have surely been difficult to try and work your way back up at the end.
I didn't really get myself back up. I was running about like 4 or 5 seconds slower than all the other Mustangs near the end. I mean, I was able to keep up before I had my damage, but like, my wheel was all the way turned to the left. It's really difficult to control. I was finding it hard just to get past all the Mazdas.
And how difficult must that be after being in such strong contention for so long? You know, getting through the first pit cycle, through the first caution, getting it all back on track, and then just losing it in just a very silly manoeuvre under caution.
I don't know, I mean, I normally get pretty lucky in races. I thought this was a very lucky race because practice I was like only like 12 fast or something, and I managed to get myself up to like 4th or 3rd place. And I was able to hold off the fast cars behind me, and I thought I did really well. And then luck just didn't come my way at the very end there.
And how are these cars, you know, once you get onto that big 30 degrees of banking on the oval, how do they handle on the draft?
The draft really helps. I mean, if you're within second of the car in front of you, it really boosts your lap time. You can, like, when you get onto the oval, if you're second behind them, you'll be on their bumper once you cross the start-finish line.
And 2 weeks' time, we're moving on to Barber Motorsports Park, a completely different track to what we've been racing at today. Very technical, some very tight and twisty sections. How do you think you're going to fare there?
Well, I don't have that track, so I guess I'm not going to be racing there.
We hope to see you again in the series, though.
Yeah, I'm going to be racing some of the other tracks. I have some better tracks, like I'm better at Lime Rock and Charlotte Road Course. I think they're going there, are they?
They're going to Homestead in 4 weeks' time.
I don't have Homestead either. I don't have any tracks, so just going to try to do well in the tracks I do have.
Yeah, not to worry. You have a nice day anyway. Thanks for talking to us.
Okay, see ya.
Okay, so that was Ayrton Ellis who just popped in for a chat, proving that we don't bite. It was a bit of a shame he fell down. He was the one that we saw crabbing into the pit lane after Trace came in. But
yeah, overall, it was still a really good race. I think we had to say a big thank you again to Yano and Yoni. Big thank you to all the drivers as well for being kind and not crashing too often. Because we ran out of things to say a couple of times under those cautions.
Well, you know, I was going to start singing.
And that's never good.
That's never good.
But apparently, Yoni wants to come and say hello to us. So, Yoni, why don't you turn your microphone on and say hello?
Howdy.
Well, I think we should tell him to unmute it.
He can't get out of it that easy.
Yeah. I'm here, man. I will always be here.
So Joni, tell us what's coming up next with Glacier TV, because you're not done yet, are you?
No, I'm surely not done. We're 45 minutes away from broadcasting sort of a sprint race with the nationwides, and we're going to stick to ovals like in this one, but not on the road ovals or robles. We're gonna go to I'm not sure if it's Daytona or Talladega, but it's a VLR sprint series with a nationwide. It's 25 laps, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just have a quick check. It's the kickoff round for the VLR nationwide series, so it's I'm not totally sure whether it's Talladega or Daytona. It says Talladega. Yeah, it's a non-points race for Talladega, 25 laps. Talladega Superspeedway with the nationwide B car. So
that's the more square one, isn't it, with a bullish nose?
yeah, it's a D-shaper with a ton of top speed and lots of drafting. And with the new draft model, I'm actually interested to see how it's going to play out. So we've had like a one proper road race, now we had a roval race, and we're going to have an oval race. So
it's progress, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the two-car tandems are going to be interesting. I've tried it myself, and it's completely changed the way you think about plate tracks on iRacing.
Yeah, you could say that.
And you're obviously one of the brains and nutcases behind Glacier TV, and you've been inundated with requests to do streaming ever since you guys did the well, even before you guys did the World Cup finals a couple of weeks back now. And how's the experience been from you with that amount of inundations?
Well, to be honest, when we first started this off, it was just basically a plan. I mean, we knew that we can do it. It was just a matter of how whether we're actually gonna do it. But when we kicked off the service, we were basically like hoping for, yeah, maybe we'll get like 2 or 3 races for 6 months or something like that, and we'll just do like cheap prices to get things kicked off. And then all of a sudden we have like we publish the email address or the address to contact us for broadcastings, and all of a sudden the email is full of different kinds of requests. There was a series, single races, stuff like that, and yeah, and the World Cup final that we did a couple of weeks ago, that was really a kickoff. I mean, we in the first broadcast we had like I think 35 people in there, and during the World Cup finals, I was just watching the normal 50, 40, something like that, and the next number that updated to my stream was 190, and I was like, what is this? So it just me and Mary was just we're both shocked about the popularity, and yeah, and we got tons of positive feedback from that World Cup final, which I'm pleased of, but at the same time, I usually rather take negative feedback rather than positive, because you cannot improve your service from positive. But yeah, but anyway, yeah, that was a great experience, and can't wait to get some more broadcasting action. And I have to say that you guys done your first and second broadcasting tonight, and I have to say I'm stunned with your with your actions. You guys really nailed it.
Well, come on, Johnny. That's enough of massaging our egos. I think we've got a couple more races in. We've got Mr. Stevenson, my favourite, James Stevenson, my favourite Australian at the moment.